All right, I'm going to talk to you today about a verdict in a case. And it's not even about the results, it's about how the verdict was presented. I don't think anybody's ever seen this before, okay? This is the Jessica Chambers case, a case about a woman who was, a young woman who was killed by being burned to death in Louisiana. And this is a few years back, but they finally had arrested somebody, gone to trial, and the verdict came in today, and it's absolutely insane. Okay, this video is from Law News. They have a great Facebook page and a website out there that you can watch all live trials on. So they posted this, and it's unbelievable. I don't think anybody's ever. I've never seen this happen before. And I guess it shows why they actually poll the jury. Okay, that must be a reason why they do that, because this is insane. All right, so the judge will start off here with his typical, no outbursts, so forth comments. And then we get into, he starts asking the foreman questions, and you'll just, it's shocking. Okay, this fits right into my narrative that I've noticed lately, that there's just, our society is getting, less and less intelligent as a whole all the time. And, I do videos for different cases. I see the conspiracy theories. And even when you explain to them logically that they can't be right, they still believe it. And I always get nervous that these same people will serve on a jury at some point. And I actually say that. And here's exactly why. All right, now let's just watch this play out. It's insane.
And you will face the penalty of contempt. So please remember, this is a court of law. I would expect you to dignify that as best you can. I understand that this has been a very emotional time for families and loved ones in this case. I understand all that very perfectly. This court has a heart like any other person, and I understand both sides, both families that are involved and friends. I understand all of that. At the same time, I'm going to ask you and remind you to dignify these court proceedings accordingly. All right, if you bring the jury in, please. I've been told that the jury's reached a verdict. Is that correct? Did you all select a foreman? All right, sir. Let's see, Mr. Lampkin, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. I don't need to know what your verdict was, but I just need to know, did all 12 jurors agree on that verdict?
Yes, sir, we did.
All right. Would you?
All right, so did you hear that? He said yes, they all agreed on the verdict. Okay, so the judge is like, all right, so everything's moving on smoothly at this point.
You hand the verdict, please, to the court, to the clerk. Excuse me.
We all didn't agree on it.
Sir?
You said we all agreed on that verdict. We didn't.
All 12, the verdict has to be unanimous, so all 12 did not agree on the verdict? Is that what you're telling me, sir?
Yeah, I didn't agree he was in.
Can you believe that? So the foreman says, yep, we all agreed. And then someone says, no, we didn't all agree. Whoa, what's going on here? And it's a total nightmare. And here's what's the scary part about this is if that guy hadn't interrupted and said, hey, we didn't all agree, the verdict would have been read. Okay, it turns out that this guy was going to present a not guilty verdict, okay, to the accused. He was going to say not guilty, and that guy would have been really ecstatic. But then as soon as the judge would poll the jury, they would have said, no, I didn't agree with that. And then that guy would have been even more devastated. Okay, this is absolutely ridiculous. Listen to how it actually turns out, though.
All right. I'll ask you to step back into the jury room, please. Pass the verdict, please, to the clerk that you have in your hand. give them the jury instruction back. All right, court will meet with counsel in chambers.
Okay, so the video is going to skip ahead to, I think, when the jury comes back in. Hold on.
All right, bring the jury in, please. All right, once again, I've been informed that the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I need to ask you if that verdict represents the considered judgment of all 12 jurors. In other words, is it unanimous?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, has that verdict been recorded on a separate sheet of paper?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you pass it to the clerk, please? Will the clerk please read the verdict?
We, the jury, find the defendant, Quentin Burdell Tellis, not guilty of capital murder.
Right.
Okay, so did you hear that? He was found not guilty of capital murder. So he did feel the sense of excitement this time around, you know, and I don't really care about him feeling excitement. It's just, this is the craziest thing you've ever heard, and I'm going to keep playing this so you can actually listen. Watch this.
Any request of counsel?
Yes, sir. Request the jury be polled.
All right. I need to know this. Thank you. It's been requested that the jury be polled. In other words, I'm going to start down here. I'm going to ask each one of you if that is your verdict. You just need to tell me yes or no. Okay? All right. Ms. Martin?
Not guilty.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Madison?
Not guilty.
McGee?
Guilty. I'm sorry.
Mr. Lampkin?
Guilty.
Mr. Johnson?
Jackson.
Jackson? I'm sorry. It says Johnson. All right, Mr. Johnson. All right, thank you. Ms. Felder?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Goss? Ms. Boyd? Is that a yes, ma'am? All right. Mr. Jones?
Guilty.
Mr. Coleman?
Guilty.
Mr. McKinley?
Guilty.
Mr. Bullock?
So the thing is already, we already know it's bogus. You have to have a unanimous decision, either guilty or not guilty, for there to be a verdict. Okay, but as you're listening, you hear people saying guilty, guilty. All right? The only thing this could be at this point is a mistrial. All right? Meaning a hung jury. They couldn't come up with a decision, so it's going to be a mistrial. But the foreman twice came back and said, not guilty. Okay, I don't know what kind of clowns or what's going on in society right now, but this is insane. Listen to this.
Ms. Bullock, excuse me. All right.
I'm way misunderstanding here.
I can't, I was having trouble hearing. All right. You may approach. It's very important we understand what your response is. And so I'm going to ask you to speak loudly so that I can hear you. The verdict that I have recorded here is we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So I'm going to ask you, Ms. Gauze, is not guilty your verdict?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Ms. Boyd.
Are you asking?
I'm asking you if you voted not guilty.
I voted guilty.
You voted guilty. All right. Mr. Jones.
I voted guilty.
All right. Mr. Coleman.
I voted guilty.
All right. Mr. McKinley.
I voted guilty.
Ms. Bullock.
I voted guilty.
All right. Ms. Martin.
I'm not guilty.
All right. Ms. Madison.
I voted guilty.
All right. Mr. McGee.
Not guilty.
Mr. Lampkin.
Guilty.
Mr. Johnson?
Jackson. Not guilty.
Ms. Felder? All right. May I see the jury instructions, please?
Okay, so not only was he not guilty, the vote was, I think I got it down 8-3, which is 11. It seems like there's usually 12, but something was missing there. But 8-3 guilty. All right, so there was holdouts for him being not guilty, and somehow the clown, who's the foreman, said not guilty. I mean, hello. I mean, this is incredible. Now the judge has to go back over and say, listen, idiots, you have to go back, and these are the rules here, okay? They just don't get it. This stuff is so standard that it seems like if you just are awake in society, you know how this works. Jesus.
It is very important that you all try again to reach a verdict, all right? Obviously, there's a split between you all as to the verdict in this case. I'm going to read you the instruction again, give you some more time to deliberate. I don't know why the verdict was recorded as it was.
I know. I get that. You don't know why. The reason is because it's hard to realize that there's people that dumb in society, right? It's hard to know why, because there really isn't a good answer for it.
But at any rate, I'm going to ask you to go back, consider your verdict, deliberate, and please record your verdict accurately, all right? I know that it is possible for honest men and women to have honest, different opinions about the facts of a case. But if it is possible to reconcile your differences of opinion and decide this case, then you should do so. Accordingly, I remind you that the court originally instructed you that the verdict of the jury must represent the considered judgment of each juror. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate in view of reaching an agreement if you can do so.
Okay, so basically after this, the judge orders them to go back, and they deliberated for some time after that, and then they came back with, let's just go right to that. I'll make this bigger so you can see it. And here's what they came back with.
Jury's ready to report, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's been reduced to writing?
Yes, Your Honor.
How would you hand it to the bailiff, please? Clerk will read the verdict, or the report, I should say.
We, the jury, cannot unanimously make a verdict of guilty or not guilty for the defendant, Quentin Verdell Tellis.
And that's it. Hallelujah! They finally got it right. But I don't think anybody's ever seen this before. At least I haven't. But it must have occurred because that's why the jury is being polled. Or sometimes they just want to get a feel of how it was going back there. So they pull them. But I've never seen it where he actually pulls them and it's like they completely change their mind. You know, like it was... from the verdict. Like you actually had a not guilty. And not only was it really not guilty, it was a mistrial, but it was way in favor of being guilty, which still is a mistrial. But at the same time, you'd think if it said not guilty, they all unanimously would have said not guilty. But instead, the juror, it seems like he almost put down what he wanted the verdict to be. Or perhaps he thought, well, since we're not unanimous, he's not guilty, which I guess technically is sort of true. He's not guilty or not guilty. He's still in limbo. He's got to go through a trial again if the prosecutors decide to do so. Anyhow, I've just never seen anything like it. I thought it's embarrassing. We're becoming we are becoming just oh god, just morons. All right, have a good one.